What if an entire city built by God himself lies hidden beneath the ocean? What if the ruins of a golden civilization are sitting right now on the ocean floor off the coast of India, waiting to tell their story? This is not a legend. This is the mystery of Dwarka, the city of Lord Krishna. Every great story needs a beginning, and the story of Dwarka begins with danger. Krishna had killed his evil uncle Kamsa in Mathura. He had freed his parents and restored justice. But Kamsa's father-in-law, the mighty Emperor Jarasandha, was furious. Jarasandha attacked Mathura not once, not twice, but 17 times with massive armies. Each time, Krishna defeated him. But Krishna saw the bigger picture. The people of Mathura were suffering. Every attack brought death and destruction to innocent citizens. And Krishna was not willing to let his people pay the price for his battles. So Krishna made a decision that surprised everyone. He decided to leave Mathura. He did not want to keep fighting Jarasandha on land that would be drenched in the blood of his own people. Some people mocked him for this. They called him Ranchhad, the one who ran away from battle. But Krishna was not running. He was protecting. There is a big difference. Krishna chose a location on the western coast of India, in present-day Gujarat. But this was not just any piece of land. According to the Harivamsa and the Bhagavata Purana, Krishna asked the ocean itself to recede and give him land. The ocean agreed, pulling back 12 yojanas, roughly 100 kilometers, to make room. Then Krishna called upon Vishwakarma, the divine architect of the gods, to build a city worthy of the divine. And what Vishwakarma built was beyond imagination. The text described Dwarka as a city made of gold, silver, and precious gems. It had wide roads paved with emeralds, palaces with crystal floors, gardens that bloomed in every season. The city was surrounded by a massive defensive wall with enormous gates. It had parks, lakes, assembly halls, and marketplaces. There were harbors for trade ships, because Dwarka was also a thriving port city. The infrastructure was so advanced that scholars have compared it to the most modern city planning concepts. The Bhagavata Purana says that Dwarka had 900,000 royal palaces. Each palace was made of silver and gold, with pillars studded with emeralds and floors inlaid with precious stones. The city had unlimited fresh water, beautiful flower gardens, and every home had courtyards with fountains. The streets were wide enough for chariots to pass without congestion. And in the center of it all was Krishna's personal palace, the Sudharma Sabha. This was a divine assembly hall that had a magical property. Anyone who entered it was freed from hunger, thirst, and sorrow. It had originally belonged to Indra, the king of gods, but was given to Krishna because even the gods recognized Krishna as supreme. Now here is where the story gets really personal. Krishna had 16,008 wives. Before you raise your eyebrows, listen to the reason. 16,100 of these women were princesses who had been kidnapped and imprisoned by a demon named Narakasura. When Krishna killed Narakasura and freed them, these women had nowhere to go. Society in those times would not accept them because they had lived in a demon's captivity. They would have been outcasts, shamed, and abandoned. Krishna married every single one of them. Not because he needed wives, but because marriage to him gave them honor, protection, and dignity. And here's the truly miraculous part. Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms and lived simultaneously with each wife in a separate palace. Each wife felt that Krishna was exclusively with her. He was a devoted husband to each one. The Bhagavata Purana describes this in vivid detail, calling it one of the greatest demonstrations of divine power. His 8 principal queens were Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, Kalindi, Mitravinda, Nagnajiti, Bhadra, and Lakshmana. Each had her own incredible story of how she came to marry Krishna. Rukmini, the first queen, actually wrote Krishna a secret letter asking him to rescue her from a forced marriage, and Krishna swept in like a hero and carried her away. Life in Dwarka was described as paradise on earth. The people were prosperous, happy, and righteous. There was no poverty, no crime, no injustice. The citizens were devoted to Krishna and followed Dharma in their daily lives. Festivals were celebrated with grand processions, music, and dance. Traders came from distant lands, making Dwarka one of the richest cities in the world. But even paradise was not meant to last forever. And the end of Dwarka is one of the most tragic and profound stories in all of Hindu scripture. After the Mahabharata war, the Yadava clan, Krishna's own people, became arrogant and complacent. They had everything: wealth, power, protection under Krishna himself. But prosperity without humility is poison. The Yadavas started fighting among themselves, drinking, gambling, and forgetting the values that had made them great. Then came the curse. A group of young Yadava boys, in a moment of foolish arrogance, dressed up Samba, one of Krishna's sons, as a pregnant woman, and went to some visiting sages. They asked the sages mockingly, "Tell us, will this woman have a boy or a girl?" The sages, who had the power to see through deception, were furious at being mocked. They cursed, "This boy will give birth to an iron mace that will destroy the entire Yadava race." And that is exactly what happened. An iron mace was born. The terrified Yadavas ground it into powder and threw it into the ocean. But the powder washed ashore and grew into sharp, iron-tipped grass called Dwarka. The destruction came swiftly. The Yadavas gathered at Prabhasa for a festival. They drank, they argued, and fights broke out. In their drunken fury, they pulled up the Dwarka grass from the shore and used it as weapons against each other. The grass, made from the cursed iron, was deadly. Brother killed brother. Fathers killed sons. The entire Yadava clan was wiped out in a single day of madness. Krishna watched it all. He did not stop it. This was the consequence of their own actions, the fruit of their own karma. Even God does not interfere with the results of free will. After the massacre, Krishna sat under a tree in meditation. A hunter named Jara, seeing Krishna's foot from a distance, mistook it for a deer and shot an arrow. The arrow struck Krishna's foot, his only vulnerable spot. And with that, Lord Krishna left his mortal body and returned to his divine abode. The moment Krishna departed, the ocean began to reclaim its land. The waves crashed over the golden walls. The crystal palaces, the emerald streets, the divine assembly hall, all of it was swallowed by the sea. Dwarka, the city of God, vanished beneath the waves. For thousands of years, Dwarka existed only in scriptures and the faith of believers. Skeptics dismissed it as mythology, a beautiful story, but nothing more. Then came the discoveries. In 1963, archaeologists began underwater explorations off the coast of modern-day Dwarka in Gujarat. What they found shocked the world. Massive stone walls, well-planned structures, anchors from ancient ships, and artifacts that dated back thousands of years. The ruins were found exactly where the scripture said Dwarka would be, submerged in the Arabian Sea near the Gomti River's meeting point with the ocean. In 2001, the National Institute of Ocean Technology found even more. Using sonar technology, they discovered structures that appeared to be remnants of a planned city, streets arranged in grids, walls of enormous stone blocks, and evidence of a large harbor. Carbon dating of artifacts from the site suggested they were around 9,000 years old. 9,000 years. That would make Dwarka one of the oldest cities ever discovered. The findings are still debated. Mainstream archaeology is cautious about linking underwater ruins directly to Krishna's Dwarka. But for millions of devotees, the evidence confirms what they always knew: that Dwarka was real, that Krishna was real, and that the stories passed down through generations were not fairy tales. Today, the city of Dwarka in Gujarat is one of the 4 sacred dhams, the 4 holiest pilgrimage sites in Hinduism. The Dwarkadish temple, dedicated to Krishna, stands there as a testament to an unbroken tradition of devotion spanning thousands of years. But beyond the archaeology and the temples, there is a deeper spiritual message in the story of Dwarka. Dwarka teaches us that nothing in this material world is permanent. Not even a city built by God himself, a golden city protected by divine power, inhabited by the Lord's own family. Even that was destroyed when the people lost their way. Wealth does not save you. Power does not save you. Even being close to God does not save you if you abandon Dharma. The sinking of Dwarka is also a metaphor for the end of every golden age. Things rise, they shine, and they fall. The cycle continues. And the only thing that survives is the truth, the Dharma, that was practiced during those times. Krishna knew Dwarka would fall. He knew the Yadavas would destroy themselves. He could have stopped it, but he allowed it because he wanted to teach the world a lesson that would echo through eternity. Prosperity without humility leads to destruction. Power without wisdom leads to downfall. And even the greatest civilizations will crumble if they forget the values they were built on. Somewhere under the Arabian Sea, the stones of Dwarka still rest, and they carry a message for all of us. Build your life on Dharma, on truth, on humility, because everything else, the gold, the palaces, the power, all of it will eventually be taken back by the ocean of time.